Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The Black Ops 7 Warzone integration is here, and you guys already know I've been jumping into games, testing out a ton of the new weapons to figure out what is the absolute best. And today, I wanted to go through and break down 5 of the best meta weapons and loadouts you want to be rocking here in the early stages of the BO7 Warzone update. There's honestly a lot of really fun choices. This seems to be a pretty well-balanced meta so far, and of course, with the emphasis on the Black Ops 7 weapons, we got a bunch of new options to break down here. So starting first up here, we've got an interesting choice because this is a gun that I was really kind of back and forth with in multiplayer, the MPC-25, aka the MSMC. But this thing is actually surprisingly good as a close range option. It's one of the more aggressive SMGs that we've got in the game. Based on the early stats, it's also one of the fastest TTK choices as well. This thing holds its own very nicely in the close range meta. So obviously we are limited to just 5 attachments, which really makes you think about your overall setups here. So as we're going through with all of these, obviously the build code is going to be on screen for each of these in the bottom left. I will also have it alongside the timestamp in the description for what it's worth if you're looking to just easily copy and paste it there. But for 5 attachments, first up here, I do rock an optic. I really like the Lethal Tools ELO. This is something I'm going to be spamming on a ton of my weapon builds this year. This is obviously something that's only getting you a clearer sight. You're not getting any extra velocity, any extra range, any control mobility. Some people like the irons on this gun. I'm very back and forth with it. Like, there are builds I think that can work really well without an ELO sight. For me personally, I found a lot more success and I feel like I was way more accurate when I was using this. So this is really a matter of preference, but I did like it myself when I was testing this out pretty early on. The main thing with this gun is the recoil. It bounces around kind of awkwardly, so you got to focus on that. That's why I go for the compensator for that better vertical control, helping out a little bit there. I also go for the drift lock foregrip, helping out the horizontal control, basically 2 max options there for vertical and horizontal. For the rear grip here, I'm actually using the stabilization rear grip for better horizontal control and a little bit of recoil stabilization. It hurts your ADS a tad bit. We're sitting at a 205, which is not the fastest in the world, but it's not too terribly slow there. I also go for the recoil springs. So I'm basically going optic and then all control, and that makes this thing very, very accurate. Now, if you're comfortable with the iron sights on this thing, you absolutely could run a long barrel and extend out that damage range if you wanted to. That'd be a fantastic choice. You could rock a stock here for a better strafe speed, maybe a faster ADS speed in the form of a laser on here too if you wanted that. So there's a bunch of different ways you could build out the MPC, and that kind of applies to all the guns here today. With only 5 attachments here, it's not a one size fits all. There are going to be preferences playing a much larger factor in loadouts, but this thing is a fantastic early choice for some close range engagements. Now, one of my favorite weapons so far in the Black Ops 7 Warzone integration is the MXR-17. This thing is kind of like the Rampart, if you remember that, and it hits, especially if you're able to land upper body shots. I think it's got a clean iron sight, as you can see here, pretty low recoil as well. This thing's just a ton of fun, very, very satisfying to use in game. It hits like a truck. So here, because we got those super clean irons, I am starting off with the monolithic suppressor. Not a surprise here. This is something we're going to be using on a ton of our long range builds this year, helping out that velocity, that range, and of course, it keeps us off the radar as well, which is super important. I also go for the hybrid barrel here, a little bit of damage range, a little bit of velocity. We end up with an 1127 velocity and our first effective damage range of 42 meters, really solid. And then the mid range out to 73. That's going to cover the vast majority of fights you're getting into here. So that's a really, really good choice there. I do go for the horizontal control under barrel here, just maxing it out, making this pattern as predictable as possible here. The Vault extended mag here, the first one, 45 rounds on a 500 RPM is going to be plenty here for all squad sizes. So no real cons. There's slight decrease to your ADS speed and your strafe, but it's not going to be anything too drastic. And then recoil springs, obviously just focusing on that accuracy. Pretty straightforward as far as control goes once you stack all these things together. Thing feels fantastic. One of my favorite rifles in the game so far, especially, you know, sort of in my opinion, emphasized by the fact that it's got the clean irons. It's just so satisfying to use. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons, all the setups here today, if you guys enjoy this video, if you find the information helpful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It's always seriously appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, you want to make sure you are in the know for everything going on in COD. Obviously, this is just the start of the things for the Warzone year. Every time we see new meta updates, new patch notes drop, if there's any content, things of that nature, tips and tricks, everything going on in the world of COD is covered right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button to guarantee you've always got the need to know information. Next up here, we've got another fantastic SMG, the Razor 9mm, one of the fastest TTK choices for that close range. This one is really, I think, emphasizing the true close range. You're talking 10, 15, 20 meters where it's going to be the absolute, peak performance. It's pretty easy to use in those ranges too. It gets a little bit more iffy as you get into some of that mid-range. So run and gun playstyle with this thing emphasized a lot, but it's very rewarding in that specific area. So here again, I'm not super sold on the iron sights. I definitely prefer the NPC's iron sights more so than the Razors. They're just a little bit too awkward, too clunky for me. So once more, I am rocking the Lethal Tools ELO personally. Again, if you're comfortable with the irons, you're okay with them, you could absolutely switch this out for something to get some better control, a faster ADS, a better strafe speed if that's more your style, but ELO sight works well for me. I also have the long barrel on here, extending out our damage range to 13 meters. Not going to be a crazy great first damage range, but the TTK in that first damage range is phenomenal. I also go for the full-on horizontal control underbarrel yet again, just so that recoil pattern is going to be as predictable as possible there. We've got extended mag 2 here. Does hurt your ADS or sprint to fire a little bit, but 50 rounds on a 1000 RPM definitely going to be necessary here for sure. This thing is a spray and pray machine. And then lastly, recoil springs again got to be a go-to for me in this specific case, just because of how this weapon behaves. A little bit of bounce, this helps sort of counteract that a little bit, of course stacking with that underbarrel there. So this thing maybe takes a little bit of getting used to as far as the control goes, but that TTK is so good up close, you're just gonna melt. Now we got to talk a little bit of the sniper meta, and the VS Recon is where it's at. This thing is an aggressive one-shot headshot choice. It can one-shot at infinite ranges. Basically, this thing is going to be a beast in the sniper meta for the year to come, presumably. And I love the fact that it's honestly pretty aggressive here in Warzone as far as like the ADS and everything goes. So honestly, I like the default scope on here. I'm comfortable with that, so I stick with that. I do go for the monolithic suppressor. Obviously, what I care about here is staying off the radar and then getting that added velocity on there, so that hit scan range is going to be pushed out further. The bullet drop and the bullet lead is going to be even easier there. We got the velocity barrel, extending that even more, obviously. Then I also stack overpressured on here too. We end up with a 1226 velocity, which is insanely good for bullet drop and bullet lead. This thing's going to be a point and shoot. You're going to be on target. You'll be set there. I also go for the quick draw rear grip, helping out that ADS speed, bumps this up to about a 585. And then the underbarrel here, the prestige attachment, I think is a crutch, because it's going to help out with rechamber stabilization, your ADS speed as well. Your recoil and sway control when you hold your breath is even better as well. So it's going to be insanely easy to use this gun with this on here too. This in general is just such a well-rounded sniper build. It's decently aggressive. It's got that one-shot capability. It's so strong. Definitely the go-to sniper as it stands. And then lastly for this one, we've got the MK78 LMG. This thing is beefy. It's slow. It's heavy, but it also hits. This thing packs a punch for sure, especially over the mid-range, the long range here. It's going to be relatively easy to use, especially with the setup that I'm rocking, and it's incredibly satisfying. LMGs typically towards the start of the year always feel really good, and this one is definitely no exception. It's a blast to use. So here, yet again, I've got that Lethal Tools ELO on there, just my go-to optic. It's clean, it's easy to stay on target with. It works over basically any range. It's absolutely my crutch optic for the year already. We also got monolithic suppressor on there for that velocity or the range to keep us off the radar. I also love the fact that Warzone now has these control barrels. Gives you better vertical and horizontal control and better velocity. That is so good for long range builds. It's going to be one that I think a lot of people will use on a lot of different mid to long range guns. We got a 1255 velocity here, and the added control here makes this thing way easy to use. You also stack that with the recoil springs, and this thing's going to be a laser beam over the long range, which obviously is going to equate a ton to getting fast kills in a live environment and not just on a stat sheet, right? Then lastly, I figured I had to get some mobility with a heavy slow LMG, so I went for the light stock for a better strafe and a better ADS speed, just helping out some there, keeping this thing a little bit more aggressive. It's still an LMG at the end of the day, but that at least helps out to a certain extent. And then to close things out here, I did want to talk a little bit about my general class setup here, just obviously having the knife as a melee for that faster mobility. The stim shots, I love the speed boost. It's so satisfying. That said, I'd probably go back and forth between these and smokes for a tactical. I'm rocking the Semtex currently as my lethal. Feels great. Obviously can push players out. You can stick players with it. Pretty powerful there as far as cracking armor goes. And then the perk choice choice is tough. The perk balance is really good. We'll have a dedicated video at a later date talking about all the perk balance, but currently I'm rocking Veteran in perk 1, resistant to flash, concussion, shock equipment effects, things like that. In my opinion, also helping out with that flinch resistance, just helps out a lot in some defensive scenarios. I've been using Sprinter. It gives you the tack sprint. You can reload while tack sprinting, which is huge. And then you also just have reduced movement penalties when you're reloading and whatnot. It just makes your gameplay a little bit more smooth, and you stack that with adaptive, which gives you better movement speed when you are fully plated. You also get a better ADS speed in Sprintifire when you're fully plated. You get an audible warning if you are in close proximity to trap equipment. You delay equipment, and you can also reset and throw back grenades. Like, this thing is just offering so much, and there are some crazy movement benefits you can get when you're stacking Sprinter and adaptive here. So I really like how that currently is playing out. But yeah, that being said, those are 5 of the best weapons and loadouts to be rocking right now in BO7 Warzone. If you guys enjoyed the video, you found it helpful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button on your way out to guarantee you are always in the know for everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.